Alright guys, here it is. The ultimate DIY DualShock 4 Elite. We've got the Extreme Rate Decade Remap Kit. That includes 4 programmable back buttons, trigger stops. We put new triggers in here, a bit more of a claw shape. We did removable D-pad and interchangeable faceplate buttons. And we got the Control Freaks Galaxies on here. This is my contribution, my entry in for the ultimate DIY Elite DualShock 4. Check out the build, guys. So, I've done most of these mods already. I've been playing with, when I'm on my PS4, I'm playing with a Extreme Rate DualShock 4. And we'll kind of go through all the things. This is essentially a new version of this controller that I have right here. So Extreme Rate came out with a newer version of their 4-button remap kit. There's a couple of cool differences between the previous one and this generation. So first things first, it made a price jump from $30 to $40. That's not quite accurate though, because something that the current generation, I think this is called the Decade, this controller, is it includes a faceplate. So the previous version, I had to buy this faceplate separately, and it was an additional $10. So that alone, $40, about the same price. But they made a couple of cool changes. So number one, they added the trigger stop feature that you find on a lot of Elite controllers. And then if you did watch my Extreme Rate review when I put it head to head against the Sony back button, the one thing that did bug me about the Extreme Rate was it uses a sensor. The first version uses a sensor right here instead of a button. Because if you rest your hands on your back of your controller, that would trigger the sensor. And that was annoying if you were right in the middle, because then none of your back buttons would work. So I'm looking forward to slapping this bad boy together. And I decided while I got the controller open, I'm just going to do a little bit of everything, right? So we kind of did this one in phases. So I'm just going to do it all at once. First things first, we're going to increase the battery life of the DualShock 4 controller. This takes it from 1,000 to a 2,000 milliamp battery, so twice the battery. Secondly, we are going to add some metal triggers. So just like I have on the other one, I actually bought the same triggers. So some pretty nice all metal triggers that have a good feature, and the R2 and L2 have like a bit more of like a claw shape to it versus the shortened just kind of like standard. Right, so you can kind of see the difference there. So, and there's a texture difference as well. You can probably see. Focus, yeah. One thing I will say about those is L2 and R2 are pretty solid, but the L1 and R1 have a bit more play than your standard Sony. So, I mean, that's just one of the things you get when it's aftermarket. They don't know the tolerances as well as like Sony, and probably don't have the quality standards either. But I still like it. I'm gonna still put it on this one, if for nothing else, then because it looks cool. And then this is also Extreme Rate. They do a buttons, joystick, and D-pad kit. So yeah, very nice. Like I said, these are all things that I did on my previous DualShock 4. So we're just switching them up to try out this new one, and we're gonna do a little bit of everything at once. Cool. the metal buttons. You can change these out, but I actually really like, I didn't think I would like having such high buttons, but for the times that I do use the buttons that aren't on the back buttons, it's actually really nice. I really enjoy it. So that's actually one of the features that has been surprisingly nice. First things first, let's open this up. Different parts where they need to be. So the new, put this right here. So you can see it's actually not much bigger, but I will say if you have larger hands, it does feel more comfortable than your standard DualShock 4. It's a little beefier feel to it. Honestly, it kind of looks like they took a little inspiration from the new DualSense 5. Or DualSense 5. Organize our parts here. Okay, these are the boards. These are the buttons that will go here. All the tools that Extreme Rate includes. Very nice of them. We have washers, springs, all sorts of buttons, or all sorts of stuff. And this is the board. So it's going to, the board's going to connect to the standard DualShock 4 board that we have with this ribbon. Are there 2 ribbons? There are 2 ribbons. So this is going to be, it looks like a little more intricate than the previous Extreme Rate kit. I'll be interested to see why that is. Why they made those changes. So the initial Extreme Rate kit just had the one ribbon right here. And it only had one board, but as we can see, oh, okay. This has 3 boards. So I will tell you, I can tell one thing right now. There was a main board, and then it was had lines running to it from the buttons last time. So it looks like they actually just made that an entire PCB, which is probably gonna hold it better. Yeah, that's great. And this looks like a board that's maybe just an audio extension. Cool, so not too complicated really. We'll bust out the instructions. I do have, Extreme Rate did a pretty good YouTube video on how to install this, but that is for the previous version. I haven't seen one for the new Decade kit. Decade? Yeah, Decade. But these are pretty solid instructions for what we're looking at, right? It tells you what you got, everything you need. Pretty detailed instructions. I'm not going to do the soldering part. I did not do that last time either. If I remember correctly, you only have to solder if... So I'm trying to think of which button it was. I think the L3 or R3, I think, was the instances which you would need to solder. We're not going to do that. Let's get, first thing we're going to do, we're going to crack this bad boy open. Yeah, take apart the back shell. The first couple steps are the same with the previous Extreme Rate kit as the current version. It's take it apart, take out the board, take out the battery. So let's get to sponging. Sprunger? Whatever this little doohickey here is called. I actually gave I believe on the previous kit they included one like this. Put our triggers up here. And this Thompson kit does come with trigger springs in case you do need to replace those. Do not need this little screwdriver. Tuck that away. Got the 2 screwdrivers we need. Also, I happen to have my own because I'm like that. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and take out the 4 screws back here. We're gonna hold on to these. The kit does include screws, but we're just gonna hold on to them. If we can use the same screws, all the better. So I believe I took this controller apart previously just to make sure there was the right board. So it should come apart pretty easily. But they can be kind of difficult. You want to start down here by the joysticks. Yeah, see how that kind of popped apart? That's not going to happen for you. It's going to take some more work. But start at the joysticks and just start popping it. Work your way around. Ta-da! Look at that. That was quick, huh? If you have not taken apart your controller before, it will not be that quick. That's fine. But once you kind of break these things apart once, they come apart pretty easily. So let me kind of share my strategy. I am going to install basically the remap kit and everything, and then as I go, as I would be placing the face buttons in, the D-pad, the joysticks, that's when I'm gonna just swap in the third party or the new parts, right? So like this one's really easy, right? So we got the battery right here. We're going to unplug that, and I'm gonna put a new battery in, but guess what? That's not going to be difficult. Black up. I'm gonna put that in the chat. Black wire up. Nice little reminder later for how that goes in. But that's really gonna be no harder than just putting that old battery back in. So, to disconnect this right here. So that will separate our 2 halves. We're gonna take this out later and put it in here, but we're just gonna set it to the side for now. Oh, there we go. I was like, I missed some stuff. All right, so we're going to take out this screw right here, right under the battery. Boop, 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 boop. That little guy right there. Yeah, and you will see as you take it out, that faceplate is really going to kind of relax, which means you are disconnecting it. Let's go ahead and take that tray out. We're actually going to just keep that tray together, and we'll put it up here next to our new battery. So this part we're going to detach right here. This is the faceplate cable, not the home button, the pad up there is where that connects to. This part's always annoying for me. Just getting it through there. Actually really nice that they included tweezers on this kit. for this part specifically, for this cable here. Oh, come on now. Boom. All right. So now we're going to migrate all of those things from our faceplate. We're going to set this to the side. We'll just put it right here. So we're going to migrate these items from the faceplate onto our Decade kit. So this is the point where we will break out our new goodies, right? So just at the point where you're going to transfer the stuff anyways, just transfer in the new stuff. Nope, just kidding. You don't need to do that. It's actually an opening in the middle. So they kind of folded this over with that middle opening, which is nice actually. I remember that from the first one. So I'm gonna go with the kind of middle, and I'll pop out two of the other sizes so you can see the difference. So I think there are 4 sizes. There's kind of like 2 mediums, and then there's a chunky boy, a little slim guy. Okay. So you can kind of see the different sizes. I'm gonna go with this one right here. This one's just massive, and this one is gonna be like your standard DualShock 4 size. And I will pull out the joysticks, and we'll just put those right up here in case we need them. Well, we'll need them, just not yet. So for this, we're going to fold it down, and then it'll come out the back. Just kind of goes around that. We let it sit. So these have little holes, and those are going to go in the corresponding holes on the kit here. You can see there's like little stanchions, we could call them. Yeah, right there. And there's 2 sides to this. There's kind of like the doll side right there, and then there's a side which has like the button. You want this to be facing down, so the open kind of button side is going to be facing up towards you. All right, so we'll install our new button. And the nice thing about PlayStation, and Extreme has followed this, is there's little channels for all of this stuff. So we'll just put it right in there. You can see what I mean by there's a channel. It's a 3-pronged button. There's 1, 2, kind of 3 cuts there that go directly with that button. Okay, and I just like to take my nail, kind of press down on that a little. Yep, that's good. So, to make this easy, we're gonna kind of peel this up. We're gonna set it that same direction down, right where we need it. So one nice thing is we actually don't need to mess with these right now, because they go on top magnetically. So we can actually just set these aside. That's one less thing that we have to worry about while we have the controller open. So once again, you're gonna notice these have the same kind of channels, or the kind of these right here. So they're gonna orientate into specific face button. Focus, not on my face. There we go. Yep, so it's going to go directly into a certain D-pad. So I can tell where it's going to go, or not D-pad button, but a facepad button. Tell where we want it to go just by the channels there are. And one thing I am careful not to do it this time, did it last time. If you kind of hover over one of the other buttons, because they are magnetic, it's going to pop right out and stick to your other face button, which is annoying. Right. Put that in right there. See? That happened. Told you it was going to happen. No, actually, I told you it wasn't going to happen. And it did anyways. But it's not that annoying. Just put it down where it needs to go. Put these on the wrong side. Okay, got all those in there. So, just gonna put this D-pad on here. We're gonna make sure those stanchions go through their channels. It's the first thing we're gonna do. Then we just press it down on there. Extra secure. Perfect. Love it. And this one, nice and easy. You just drop it in. So once again, there's gonna be the two sides to this. Where the buttons are exposed, or where they're covered. You want the buttons exposed, facing up towards you. And that's the way it's going to come in your standard DualShock when you open it up. So just follow that. Nice and easy lemon squeezy. So once again, I don't have to mess with this. I don't have to put the D-pad or the face buttons on right now. I'm just going to save that for later once all the real work is done. But I do need to put our thumbstick circle, is what they call it. So this is a feature that was not on the previous kit. It says just press it down. Yeah, you're gonna have to flex it a little bit. Okay, so it does install from the front. It's not as simple as just pressing it down. You're gonna need to kind of like flex it in there. Easy enough. So I'm wondering if that's purely aesthetic or if it's a function thing. So your scuffs and your other kind of pro style controllers usually do have these trigger rings in there. I don't know enough to tell you how functional that is, or if it's just to look cool. I don't think those are going to be interchangeable with these. Just looking at how these are installed, and I believe most other kind of trigger rings like this are kind of quick change. I'm going to guess that if there is, and it's going to be a big bonus if it is true, there's less friction on the joysticks. That's gonna be my guess. We're gonna see how it goes. That is one issue that I've had with these is, so if we take these off, sometimes we get a little, sometimes we get a little stick. And that might be, I think part of that is just I packed so much into this controller. You know, new joysticks. We did the remap kit. So I think that's going to be another benefit of having such a large, or a little, not large because it's not larger than the DualShock 4, but a little roomier controller. Oh, and we'll put this back. Remember, we're going to go from the back around that curve. Boom, there she sits. Okay. Yep, so the solder point, that is purely for if you want to use the L3 and R3. I'm not going to assign any of those to my buttons, which means I don't have to solder anything. We're going to go with that. Much easier. But this is the point, if you did want to, you would need to solder to your R3 and L3. This is the point where I am going to change out my triggers. I'm going to move this out of the way because we no longer need it. Yeah, interesting. So we're going to push this on there. And yeah, it's going to be an extender. So in the guide, that's what it says to do next. After doing your R3, L3, we're going to change out the triggers. So if I remember right, these triggers are pretty easy. At least the bottom two are. So get it over that, and whammo blammo. So get over this notch here, and then just pull it out of this pressure fitting. There. So this one close. Break it down a little. Fold that back. We want to keep the springs in there. The Thompson kit that I bought does come with some extra springs, but if we don't have to fool around with those, the better. Boom. And you'll see the and the L1R1 has these little clips. Let me get it good. So essentially, you just want to kind of bring it up, kind of tilt it up, get those clips over the edge, and then. So one more time to get over that final piece, they're just gonna pull out. So the L1R1, those are gonna pop in, easy peasy. Where are we at? Let's take our R1, and so I just like to be foolproof. You know, hold it, and I'm gonna be like, yes, that is my R1. Very good. Yes, this is my L1. The L1 is a little better made than the R1. The little catch is, so they just don't have the quality control that like PlayStation is gonna have, and it can honestly just be hit or miss. But once we get this whole thing put together, I'm not really going to be worried about it. But it's definitely going to have a little more play than your Sony DualShock 4 L1R1. So honestly, if you're not super into everything being matchy-matchy, I mean, even just leave the L1R1s in here because functionally they operate no differently. Whereas you can see there is a drastic form difference between the two trigger buttons, right? So this one just has a lot more reach to it. So we're going to pop that in to the fitting. And whoop. There we go. Oh yeah, nice and responsive. That is what we're looking for. Right, yes. Good, very good. And just check to make sure that's a nice responsive trigger. If not, you can always pop it out and check it out, right? Figure out where you went wrong. And these should pop right off. So you can see they have, once again, very, oh, come on now. There, this will be easier. So you can see it's kind of rounded and then flat on one side. So that'll help you line up your new joysticks. We'll pull those over here. Same thing. They are flat. That sucks. Doesn't work well. They're rounded and then flat on one side, or two sides. So it's essentially a smooshed circle. Some nice clicks, very good. And guys, we are cruising on this. Okay. Looks like this ribbon was for the L3R3, so I don't need it. That makes sense. I think there was something to that effect with my last Extreme Rate kit. Nice. Yeah. So we need to pull this off real quick. No, we can leave those on. Ah, there we go. All right, so this conductive pad needs to touch this conductive pad right here. So, let's see if we can. So we want this, and this is really nice. They suggested using dual-sided tape last time. This time, they just put it right on there. Nice, very good job. Thank you. So just going to set it once again on the stanchions there. Oh yes, okay, I remember this from last time. So the stanchions that need to go through these holes actually line up here and here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna line it up and press it all together. Okay, good. Those are where I need them. Boom. Okay, so as long as like it's not mangled, if that's on there nice and tight and it came through the 2 channels, that's what you want. And we'll make sure the board is clipped in there. Yeah, very nice. So we're doing well. If you want to take these bad boys out, that's probably a good enough time as I need to do it. Just clip it. Some players like taking their rumble out. It makes for a lighter controller. They don't use it anyways. You know, if you're playing like Call of Duty, you know, maybe that like first hit sets your rumble, you know, scatters you a little, takes you out of the experience a little, but it makes, you know, a little cleaner play. Maybe you can play a little better without it. Or you can just turn it off. That's easier, but if you want to take your rumble packs out, that's not what they're called, this would be the time to do it. But we're going to reinstall the faceplate. So we'll take our tweezers once again. Thank you for including them this time. And we want this ribbon to come up right through this channel. Which is honestly one of the most difficult things about this entire process is just getting this ribbon to go right back up through there. Oh, no, we gotta get through this channel because there's not enough slack if we do not. As you can see, that ribbon is not going to reach. So we gotta get it not through this top long one, but this shorter one. Like I said, possibly the most difficult part of this entire build. The tweezers really will help here. Bam. So we can do that. Very good. And get it settled in the housing. Press on that back. Boom, boom. So that connects our touchpad to our main board, our main PCB here. We're going to just nice and settled. We try not to touch on the PCB, get the metal parts, got the audio. Yeah, so that was just what we were talking about. It really did need to extend the PCB or the audio a little bit. So that's interesting. So that tells you it is longer this way, but yeah, nice. Okay, easy enough. Ta-da! Okay, so this is the point where we will put our battery back in. So once again, there's little stanchions. Stanchion goes there. Our screw will fall into place. And I'm gonna kind of lift this up as I do this. Otherwise, it'll kind of push it back. We want it to be really well seated in the faceplate housing while we're screwing it down. And this is probably going to feel a little tougher than it was coming out, like more resistance. And that's because it's going into like this fresh faceplate, right guys? Right, so these are where your screws are going to go in later. So those have never been screwed yet. All right. Good, it's on there. Do a jiggle test. good. Yeah, see, good plan, that L1, R1. Figured once I got it together, it wasn't gonna be a concern. Do it quick. Okay, that's really nice. So that right stick, I think, would show up. Oh, see, we're getting a little bit on the left. So yeah, you know, if that persists and doesn't like round out a little, I would maybe even just switch these back, these joysticks. So old battery, new battery. So we're just gonna take this new battery out. I get this on eBay. Just check, make sure that it is for the controller that you're using. There is a difference between the old DualShock and the new DualShock. Yep, we're gonna put it down this way because once again, that black wire up. Put it in the chat here so I would remember. Well, I don't know why it goes in there. Easier this way, but does. Just not gonna sweat it. Okay, so this is where we head to the back of the controller. So we'll set this off to the side. Pull this. Nice. All right. Okay, these are for the trigger stops, actually. These are not brackets. Oh, the brackets are self-contained in the buttons, it looks like, maybe? Okay, so we're going to need a screw, a spring, and a washer. Is it the larger screw or the smaller screw? Once again, pretty good detailed instructions on this. I'm happy with it. Screw number 2. So it is the large or the cross long screw. And they do send extra parts. So I have 2 trigger stops, but 4 screw springs. So yeah, they do a good job. You know, a lot of the little details, they really do a good job with. Happy. Go. So we have the long screw. Okay, so we're gonna get 2 of the long ones. We will. So this little notch is going to go up, whichever side. Oh, nice. And see, it even says right here, I don't know if you can see it, but it says L, and this one will say R. So we're gonna put the spring in, and we're gonna grab our washer and our screw. So I'm gonna preload our screw onto our driver. Kind of place it in that washer hole. I'm gonna look at the side here, just make sure I'm in the right place. I am. And then is it one-way screw? Yep, just gonna go all the way down. effective. Short trigger step. Long trigger step. Or short trigger, long trigger. Yeah. And that really does go in pretty easily. So the spring, there's a little channel there once again. Kind of push the spring in there. Really gonna tighten that just all the way down. Kind of like pops up now, but I'm gonna guess once you have the rest of the controller in here, this is actually gonna just kind of slide. And it's not even bad right now. Excellent. So we're gonna divide up some of these screws here. Don't know what that is, but we're gonna find out. So this is kind of cool. In the previous version, there was, you put the button in and then you put a bracket in. And it looks like they really integrated the bracket into the screw this time. Or into the button. Okay. Boom, so we'll set, we'll do these actually one at a time. As soon as you set it, it's gonna move on you. Just like that. Oh, nope, that's not where we want it. Okay, this is going to be interesting to see how these function compared to the previous, the buttons on the previous kit that I had. Yeah, so the way the buttons worked previously is closer to kind of like these D-pad buttons. So you would have the button, and then there was like a bracket over it, but it was essentially free floating, but then, constrained by that bracket. What these are is they're not free floating. They're not free floating. They're attached, and then kind of, essentially you need this to be loose. Yeah, right. So to have some give, so that button could get pressed up. So that may make for like a really stiff button press. Now it looks like it's really secure, so I wonder if they had issues with just kind of some brackets or some buttons not holding up, and this was maybe a way to remedy that. I also wonder if maybe we don't want to tighten this down 100%. Give it a bit more play. Yeah, see, that's, I don't know if you can tell, but that is not a whole lot of pop there. Okay, well. Yeah, so for me to like really press that button in, kind of pops out of the hole. Well, we'll see how it works with the actuators. Actuators? I think it's an actuator. button this down. Go. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to migrate over this, which this white piece comes up. Then this comes out. There's a little board underneath it, which does the light bar. Yep. Yeah, easy enough. This just unscrews here. And then they've just made the same exact housing, replicated that on their Decade system here. Oh, the light bar, and it does the USB. Should be able to just wiggle this out. Let's lift the tape up. Come on now. Ooh. Alright, so once again, we're just going to migrate this over. Press that down, and then we'll smush that tape. Nice little check. Good, right where we want it. We will screw it back on. Okay, let's see. Yep. Put that right in there. And then we'll put this here. And then secure it with our white bar. There we go. Just like Mama made, huh? So at this point, we are going to install our PCB, our boards here. So we'll pop this button in. So this was kind of a difficult part last time, just because of how it was set up. You had to like get the LED over it. There's a whole thing. But this looks like this should be simpler. So you can see there's two areas where you're going to screw down the board, and okay, so it looks like the buttons are going to kind of fit into the actuators, I guess, will fit into the buttons. You want it to be secure, but don't over tighten these. Do not want to crack the board. That will not be helpful. I'm really just gonna kind of start it. Get to the second one. grab it, press this out with our finger. I think my bone just buzzed, but we're using it for our 2-cam setup. There's nothing I can do about that. I think I want to get this out of here. Okay, once you get the buttons in there, these aren't really a concern. These actually have a good pop to them. Yeah, because the buttons are going to push back enough. Yeah, this would be actually really nice. Just check. I'm not gonna like over tighten, but we're just gonna check. If it feels like it's got like a good amount of resistance, I'm not gonna tighten it anymore. Yeah, really good. Okay, so my theory that I had earlier is true. So Extreme Rate did a lot of really good things with this, right? So it's identified, they really made this, it's an involved process, but it is a pretty intuitive install. They make it easy to install. They make it user-friendly. So like I talked about, like the switches kind of popped up a little earlier. What they did when on this button, they actually included a bracket to hold down the trigger stops. So that's also going to hold up these trigger stops longer, give them a longer life. They really thought this out. So, you know, even if like the joystick is a little janky, I'll just change those back. But like as far as the remap kit, it's well thought out. Nice tactile feedback. Yeah, that's the stuff. Yeah, see, nothing to worry about with that. Really nice. So we're at the 5-yard line here. So really, we're gonna kind of fold these together and plug them in. So folding along this dotted line, once again, they could have just said fold at this point, but they made a dotted line. Very user-friendly. So if you wanted to remap the L3R3, this is where you would install that. This is the point where you would, but we're not doing that. I just don't see a need. Nice, we're going to stick this on right here. To line these up. So this has like a clamp fitting, which is actually really nice. Yeah, so we're actually gonna need to take it bottom to bottom, not top to top. We will. So I think it's actually gonna be a little easier if we connect it and then I put that tape on. But once again, that would be a little more difficult if you did the L3R3. I didn't do it. I don't see a point. I'm not going to remap those. Whole point of doing a back button. So that just slides in, and then there's a little clamp right here that will clamp it shut. Get a little jiggle jiggle. Good to go. Then we will install the power cable under the Mobo. Oh, you know what? Use the tools we are given. Use our tweezers to line it up, and then secure it. Whammo kablamo. And then very good. We will snap it together. So just to review what I did that last part, I connected the remap to the buttons. So the buttons connect to, so the back buttons here connect to the motherboard now, and then I reconnected the power. So charging port now goes to the power cable, or the motherboard, which will charge our battery, which is important. Now we're just going to snap this little baby together. And we'll screw it all in. Oh, interesting. Interesting. So the hex screws, these long ones, are actually going to be what we screw in the we secure the controller with, or the shell with. Interesting. I wonder why they did that. So, because the previous Extreme Rate shell really duplicated the DualShock 4, everything about it. It was essentially a DualShock 4 shell. You just reused the screws that came with it. And once again, I'm going to kind of screw these in a little bit, and then once all 6 of these are in, then I will tighten it down. Sorry, we'll put that in frame. Let's see, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 in. We need screws 5 and 6. Okay, so we have, you can see like some seam gapping right here, but down here where this one, I just fully fixed it. It's perfect. This is what we want to see. We don't want to see any seam gaps between the faceplate and the back. Nice, like a good snap like that. Okay. See, so now that I have it all together, I am having that same joystick issue. So I'm probably just gonna end up putting these back on at some point here. I'm not gonna do it right now. That's interesting because it is, these joysticks are Extreme Rate. They came with the button kit. I ordered them together. So it's really interesting that Extreme Rate's joystick kit does not work well with their remap kit, their faceplates, because you would assume they would want people to use all of their stuff. So we have the trigger stops. Nice short trigger. So let's see. Something like that. So we got a short trigger, long trigger, pretty much all the way. Just opens it up. So there's your difference on the trigger stops. I'm gonna do short triggers, check the back buttons. Good pop. Nice and responsive. Final thoughts. Extreme Rate does a really good job at building an intuitive. They make this easy to build. For the price point, it's really great, right? So you've got the fold-out instructions. You've got all the materials included that you need. They made some good upgrades along the way in the function of the controller. I'm excited to play with it, put it through its paces. So for $40, this is a great value. I would pick it up. I think where I would stop is I would leave the original joysticks in. I think those are probably gonna work better. We will find out because I will put those back in. So final thoughts, great kit for $40. It's awesome. 4 back buttons and trigger stops. It's a really comfortable size. Would recommend, would not recommend you get Extreme Rate joysticks with it. But other than that, a great kit. Let's go ahead, put the face buttons on. And the D-pad. So that's what she looks like all said and done. Right there. Bam, bam. Yeah. Really nice looking, and good to note, they do have a ton of different color options, different design options. So I will be giving away one Extreme Rate DualShock 4 kit on my Twitter. So I'm gonna recut this. We're gonna launch it on YouTube as kind of an ultimate DIY controller guide. So go ahead and, where are we at? Right here. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Lower. Right here. The Twitter. Cronus Robo. Go ahead and follow me there. And we are going to be giving away an Extreme Rate kit. If you want to build one, perfect chance to get one. So, yeah. Alright. Thanks for watching. If you like this type of stuff, let me know. I'm always down to tinker a little bit. So, yeah. Alright. Have a great night. Great day.